all this,
my
right, this meeting of the new Westminster Police Board to order. I will start with our land acknowledgement. We recognize and respect that New Westminster is on the unceded and unsurrendered land of the Halkah speaking peoples. We acknowledge that colonialism has made invisible their histories and connections to the land. As a city, we are learning and building relationships with the people whose lands we are on. Can somebody move to adopt
So moved.
agenda? All in favor? All opposed, carried. Excellent. Does anyone want to pull anything off consent?
Miracle.
What? Really? What's happening?
Yes.
For real? Okay, I'm going to pull the which is it? The ops report. And apologies to Andrew, I didn't send my thing in advance, but I think it's pretty question. Anybody else? Okay, this is wild.
We're making up to the last meeting.
Can someone move adoption of consent?
So moved.
Second, all in favor, all opposed, carried. Excellent. Okay, 2.4, I just had a question around
Three or four?
2.4.
Oh, four.
Thank you for including the stats around the now what is called circle, formerly packed numbers. I'm just wondering if you can help us understand those stats. I wasn't clear if those are the numbers of cases that they were managing that police were then called to, or if those are the total amount of circle cases.
Yeah.
Which is it?
So it's neither, meaning that I can't give you that context right now. What that represents is our records on having, so our police records on having packed or circle involved in an investigation.
Okay.
So it's from our databases, you know, the type of support or what what happened. I would have to go into each file to obtain that. Other than flagging that we have involvement in that, our record database does not flag anything more than that. So these are not circle stats. I could always reach out and see if they would like to share them, because they may also have their own stats, which may or may not involve police.
Right. So it was when there was some involvement on our end.
On our end,
Okay.
correct, yeah, we've documented it, that they were involved in that incident in some capacity, yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
great.
But I can absolutely look at speaking with Circle, or if the board wishes to have a little bit more details beyond that, I can obviously look into that and see how feasible it is for us to do that.
Sure, and yeah, I mean, I think, I don't think that they can give us their numbers if that, I don't think you should be chasing those numbers around. It would be helpful just to understand, I guess some context, like, I think it would be helpful as we move along, just to understand a bit more context of how that relationship is working. Is this, 5 times that they needed police, so police came? Were there times when they weren't able to attend? What were these times when the police called Circle? So I don't think we need that on a monthly basis, but just at a high level, just sort of like a touch base of how the relationship's going and how we can improve it is.
No, absolutely.
It's good, because, just trying to decrease that workload, for members.
Yeah.
And so on that same note, then, this might be in the stats, so maybe I don't get to speak to it, because I would be curious, I'll just say at a high level, I noticed that mental health calls were down. And I'm curious if maybe it's too premature to draw any conclusions, or correlations between, whether we're responding to less mental health calls, because of that service that's available in the community, or if maybe they're just not tied, I don't know, but
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to answer that.
Of course,
I think that would require a greater review.
Sure, that's,
To be able to see what we can find.
regardless, it's good to see those numbers down. Okay, that's it. Mary?
I'm sorry, I didn't has PAC now changed its name to Circle?
That's correct, yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
thanks, I missed that.
It's
So,
called community response, community led or something.
crisis response, community led, involved. So was packed.
Yes,
correct.
they've rebranded the whole program across the province.
Did we see any kind of, comms about that?
I learned it, honestly, I learned it informally, so I can't speak to that, but I didn't receive any official communications.
Yeah, I attended a workshop with them where they said that a new branding was coming.
Oh,
And
okay,
so I don't
okay.
remember how I saw it either.
So
but it
that's,
wasn't
we
official.
refer to it now as Circle. Okay, great, thank you, that's good to know.
All right, anyone else? Can we just move for receipt?
So moved.
Second, all in favor, all opposed, carried. Excellent. Okay. On to you.
Great, thank you. Really quickly, just some comments from myself. It's been a busy month or so with regards to public engagement. I was very fortunate to award a number of 20-year service awards to staff and 25-year service awards to staff, so very happy to do that. I attended the Order of Merit ceremony in Ottawa, and thank you, Natasha, for highlighting that in front of council for me. I also
Love the
attended-
fanfare.
Yes, I do. I attended the Royal Westminster Regiment Change of Command ceremony, was very appreciative of that. Of course, attending High Parade, I managed not to crash the Nash, driving in the parade, and then attended the May Day celebration, which I had to leave prematurely because of the high-rise fire, which certainly was highlighted in media. I don't know if I caused a stir at the event because I got up and was listening to my radio and rushed off because one of our members had raced into the high-rise as it was on fire. So very appreciative of staff's work in that area. And then just want to talk a little bit about the downtown. As I spoke about at last board meeting, we've been doing enhanced foot and bicycle patrols in the downtown core, including Pier Park. Over the month since I think it was May 10th, we've done about 15 days of coverage or 15 shifts of coverage, usually 2 members apiece. So about 260 plus hours of coverage. Self-generated files, there's about 42 self-generated files, including 15 proactive arrests, a number of naloxone deployments, on-view naloxone deployments by police staff, a number of weapon seizures, including knives, some brass knuckles and pepper spray, some drug seizures. And where it stands now is we've basically used up all of our remaining 30,000 of site funding from the province. We are going to be continuing these patrols through June. It'll be perhaps not quite as enhanced, given that much of it is on overtime, and then we'll reevaluate at that time. I do know, and the board chair referenced stats, and looking at some of the stats from the downtown, we've seen a bit of a downward trend, certainly with assaults. It's very difficult to compare month to month because there's so many factors that can impact that. But I want to give an example of where stats, if you're just looking at the percentage, it can be a bit challenging. So if you were to look at the downtown stats, you'll see a figure of 267% increase from last year. But if you actually delve into it, we have 11, and this is in the downtown core, we've had 11 robberies in the downtown core year to date in 2025. So the number 267% is up from the 3 we had year to date in 2024. But if you actually delve a little bit deeper and look, the 3-year average is 10. So really last year was probably more of the anomaly in the reduced number of robbery files in the downtown core, but it's something that we will continue to monitor and keep an eye on. I know I've received a lot of anecdotal feedback from staff and from residents and businesses in the downtown core appreciative of the enhanced presence. Those are my updates.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Chief? Moving right along. This is wild times. We should, this is what morning meetings feel like. Our evening meetings are all dragging a bit. Okay, new business, the call for nominations of the CAPG. The Canadian Association of Police Governments. It does have some vacant spots available. I believe there is only one spot for a BC director, and that is for a 1-year term. The previous person who was on a 2-year term had resigned from their police board, so there's one spot available. If anyone is interested from our board to put their name forward, you can contact me and let me know. We have until July 6th to be able to do that. And I think we can figure that out online if you know, the process, if you want to do that. But does anybody have any questions about that? Yeah, Kelsey.
Just related, but a bit unrelated. I was just wondering, are we going to have representation at the conference in Victoria?
I will be attending. I don't know for certain who else has said they're attending, yeah. Okay, so if you're interested, let me know. Shy folks here, Michaela, I think her name is Michaela from Michaela, yeah. Somewhere on the island, it's Victoria, thank you. She is the other BC rep, and she's finishing going into her second year for a 2-year term. 4.2, CAPG award. That's you.
Yeah, so this is basically, comes out from CAPG, which is the National Police Governance Body, and it's just if the board here has anyone in mind that they would like to recommend for a CAPG award. There's the 3 different levels: a staff award, a director award, or a partnership and leadership award. So I would leave that to the board if any individuals come to mind that they would look to recognize. I believe it's the end of this month is the deadline for submissions. It does reference Halifax in here is where the award would be issued, but I believe it's actually in Victoria, because Halifax was last year.
Okay. Yeah, I can circulate a bit more information around, and maybe touch base or if you have any recommendations as well. Mary, did you have something? Oh, I thought you were trying to get.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always good to put nominations in. It's always good to highlight the city and the department and the good work that's happening. So we can think on that. I will send out an email to everybody. She weren't prepared to. And the school board motion 4.3.
Yes, I just wanted to put this in the board package and flag it for the board. It's certainly early times yet, but for those of you that were not aware, on May 27th, the school district here passed a motion. I won't read it out in entirely, but my read of it was that it was a willingness to re-engage in a conversation with the police department about what a potential level of police involvement in the schools would look like moving forward. It's certainly a conversation we are prepared to have. But again, and I think I've flagged this even publicly and certainly privately, we don't know what we don't know. I don't think anyone has the intention that it's going to go back to what it was prior to 2021. But certainly to engage in some level of conversation, an evidence-based conversation about what it is that can be done in a collaborative fashion that would enhance student safety and what role we would or wouldn't play in that. We did have a conversation, myself, board chair, vice chair, along with the superintendent of schools, as well as I believe it's a subcommittee they have from the school board, just to have a very high level discussion. My takeaway from that is that staff will start to engage in this conversation and be bringing it back to our respective boards about any movement forward on that issue. But I really wanted to flag it for the board, and if there's any conversation that the board wants to have on that issue.
And I guess just to fill in some gaps, not gaps what you were saying, but just gaps in the timeline, prior to the school board bringing forward that motion, noting that we had heard, anecdotally that from, the relationship might have had a bit of strain between the school and the department. We had spoken, I had spoken with the chief and with Heather about reaching out to the chair and vice chair of the school board and the superintendent to just have a relationship, like have a meeting to build that relationship and talk about, opportunities for enhanced collaboration and to hear a bit more about what they're struggling with. So that was prior to the motion, and then just sort of fell off our plates getting that organized, and then the school board brought forward that motion. And so in lieu of sending, we had organized it with the chair and vice chair. But then in lieu of sending those two, they sent the two trustees that have been assigned to be sort of a committee on their end for this. So that's why we had that meeting, in case of, I think I had communicated a long time ago that we were going to reach out to the school board, but if folks are wondering how that came to be, and I thought it was a really positive meeting. Certainly no decisions were being made. Any resourcing and budgeting decisions would come back to the board, obviously. But just more to hear about their expectations. I think that we need to set some clear expectations about what is and isn't possible as well. I think that the school might be looking for something that I'm not sure, like, we'll have to decide how to best respond to that and whether it's us or whether it's someone else. So, yeah, but I thought it was a really positive meeting and everybody seems to have a really open mind about how we move forward in a really good way. And we obviously all have the same, vision for an outcome of student safety in schools and the chief, made a clear point that the response should be trauma informed. I think that was well appreciated by the school board. So, yeah, we'll keep you apprised as we move along, as we get more information. All right. Well, that's done and dusted. Can every meeting be like this? Not every meeting like this. Just every meeting in my life be 17 minutes long. I will have someone adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all in favor, all opposed? Carried, excellent.